Hi everyone, welcome to Mindful Crafts and More. I'm Katrina. If this is your first time checking out my channel, welcome. Take a look at this video or any of my other videos, and if you find yourself inspired, join my channel. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. I really appreciate you just hanging out with me for a bit. So hi everyone, today is Try It Out Tuesday, and today I have a little bit of a dilemma because I am trying out different techniques and items, and I want some input from you guys. All right, I am working on socks, and I have made socks before, but each time I make them, I've done something different with them. And it can pose a challenge or be a little frustrating, but I embrace the learning. So, not necessarily a challenge for me. You guys can be the judge. So the first thing is usually I like to do 2 at a time projects when they come in pairs. The reason I want to do that is because I find that sometimes I will lose track of how many rounds I did or how many rows I did, and then one will be a little bit longer or shorter than the other, and then I'm not very pleased with the outcome. So if I do them 2 at a time, then I'm more likely to get evenness, at least with the rows. Sometimes you still can get a difference in the circumference or something like that, but usually your rows or your rounds will be about the same. All right, so let's take a look and see the first way that I've done 2 at a time projects. Okay, so here we go. So I normally would do my projects with double pointed needles if I am doing something with knit. And so I went ahead and I made holders for my double pointed needles because I found that the needles that I used, they could easily slip off of my socks as I'm working on them. This is a very quick sewing project that you can do. And I actually made these with some leftover scrap yarn from a project bag that I made. Okay, so it's really nice because it has these snaps on it. And when you have the snaps, then nothing's gonna fall out. And it's wide enough so that as you're making your socks, then the sock fabric comes through at the bottom. And yeah, so it fits really, really nicely. So let's take a look at how I did the 2 at a time. All right, so these are 2 different skeins of yarn. I've divided them up, one for each, and I weighed them to determine if they were approximately the same length. All right, that way I had them even. And in making them, I use my double points, okay? And I will do a round or 2 and then put it down and then pick up the other, okay? So now as you notice, this is the toe portion of my sock and there is no stitch marker to identify it, okay? So now I'm gonna put this one back and pick up the other one. Okay, so here's my second one. Here. And this one I used a stitch marker, okay? So for these, I can tell which one I started on and which one I finished on. So I'm using my stitch marker to say, oh, okay, this is the one that I start on, or the other one is the one I start on. So I have to make sure that I do the same thing to both before I move on to the next point, okay? So that's how I identify which one I've done and how to go on to the next one, 2 at a time. All right. So another way to do 2 at a time knit projects is to do a magic loop method. Now, in order to do this, you'll need a very long cable needle. And I was gifted these beautiful lace weight Chiaogu needles from Pricilla over at Distinctive Crochet. And I must say, these are just awesome, awesome needles. Thank you so much, Pricilla, for gifting these to me. I so appreciate it. So this is my first time doing the magic loop method for my socks because the cables for the needles that I had previously were very thick and not very flexible. And it was very difficult to even think of doing two at a time socks. But these needles are nice and flexible. The cable is flexible and very smooth transition from the needle to the cable. And I just love it. So as you see here, I am doing a pair of two at a time socks. Now, this is a different type of yarn from the one that I just showed you. And I will show you the challenge that I had with these socks. The challenge that I had with these is actually not necessarily with the technique, because I have gotten used to keeping up with each skein. But this is the skein for this sock. This is the skein for this sock. And if you look at them closely, I was able to get my socks to be pretty similar, right? However, these two skeins are not created equal. This one is the sock that I started with. And when I went to pull the center portion for this skein of yarn, I was surprised because it didn't start at the same place. So I pulled a little bit thinking, oh, surely I'll get to the next portion. No, I actually pulled this much yarn before I got to the same portion of yarn colors that were on this skein for the socks. So I was able to get my socks to be pretty close in the colors, but I had to pull this and I didn't want to cut it. So this is still on the, it's still connected. And what I'm hoping is by the time I get to the end of this skein here, that I am back to a pattern repeat, which hopefully is still in this yarn. And it's really interesting because when you look on the outside, it looks like they're the same, but they're not. So that's my challenge with this. Nothing whatsoever to do with the needles or the technique, but I had a challenge with the yarn, okay? All right, now, the next way of doing two at a time is, I think, a way that it can solve this particular dilemma. So let's take a look. There is such a thing as a sock blank. What is a sock blank? A sock blank is a piece of knit fabric. It can be either flat or it can be tubular, and it could be single ply or it could be double ply, where the fabric is knit up with the two strands of the yarn that you plan to use. Now, the nice thing about sock blanks is they can be dyed, they can be hand painted, and they can produce really beautiful colors and whatnot that then are translated into whatever the item is that you are making. And it gives an evenness to the projects that you are making because of the fact that the strands are dyed at the same time. And you can choose to work from the sock blank, or you can choose to cake up your yarn or to ball up your yarn and then go ahead and work from the cake or the ball. So let's take a look at a representation of yarn that has been kind of blanked. This one is called Penelope, and it's actually called a chainette style yarn, okay? And so here's an example of it where you see that they have gone ahead and made a very nice tube, which almost looks like an I-cord with the yarn. And they very ingeniously went ahead and told you this is where you start so that you know where to unravel it so that you can work with it. And I think that's wonderful. Now, this is actually a single ply, but the beautiful thing is there's enough yarn here to make a complete pair of socks. Now, how do I know that? Well, I looked at the yardage on it, and let me show you the other colors and then I'll come back to the yardage, okay? So this is a beautiful, beautiful set of colors, which has some beautiful greens and then like a rust color, and then it looks like there's a burgundy or plum color here. Just beautiful colors here. And then the next one is here with some beautiful golden colors and fuchsia, and and then some kind of rust tan colors. I just love all of them. They'll make some very beautiful items. The third one is here, and this one here has a little bit more rust and grays and tans and the fuchsia. And so I love this one too. And last but not least is this one with some beautiful grays and some really beautiful kind of golden colors here with some more darker like charcoal grays. All right. Now, the yardage, as I promised. The yardage on these, first of all, it is 75% wool and 25% polyamide. The yardage is 459 and it's 420 meters. The weight is 3.5 ounces or 100 grams. Now, 100 grams is plenty to make a pair of socks. And to contrast it with the yarn that I showed you where the colors were not equal from skein to skein, this was actually Patton's Croy sock yarn. So if you purchase it, you have to be really careful because even if the skein on the outside looks like it's the same, it may not be the same color. So you may want to just, be careful with that as you're choosing the yarn. But in any case, these are 1.75 ounces, 50 grams, and they are about 166 yards or 152 meters. So as you see, these absolutely will make a full complete pair of socks with one of each of these chainette groupings, okay? So yes, 3 different ways to make 2 at a time socks. What do you guys think? It doesn't matter. What's important is that you find the way that works the best for you. Now, I am knitting these socks and I have shown you the ones that are being knit, but the same thing applies to us crocheters. You can still use a chainette style or a yarn blank to make your socks when you crochet them, or you can choose to make a set of 2 at a time using the skeins like this, or you can choose to do it using a different yarn, which has the skeins that are the larger skeins. It really doesn't matter. And you still will get a beautiful, beautiful product. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at the puzzle solution from the last video. And this is what I came up with. And this is a puzzle for today. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. I'm really enjoying the puzzles, and I see that you guys are as well. Let me know in the comment section if you have ever worked with a chainette style or a yarn blank, or if you have done 2 at a time socks using either of the methods that I showed here. I would love to hear your experience, which one you like best, which one you found to be more challenging, and why. All right. So So that's all I have for today. I want each and every one of you to remember to be mindful, to do everything you can to be at your best health, and by all means, be proactive every day. I look forward to seeing you real soon in my next video. Bye bye.